Glad to have you back. Lagos is widely believed to be the model for good governance, infrastructure renewal, and innovation. The state recently made history as the first subnational entity in the continent of Africa to complete a modern intra-city rail infrastructure without federal budgetary allocation, a feat widely applauded. However, in its continued efforts aimed at transforming Lagos to an ultramodern economic destination in Africa, Babajide Sanwo-Olu-led administration has developed and launched a 30-year economic development plan. It calls Lagos State Plan 2052. The plan, which aims at making the state of aquatic splendor a 21st century economy, is centered on four cardinal pillars of thriving economy, human-centric city, modern infrastructure, and effective governance, which serves as a blueprint of how African megacities should actually be built. As the 2023 elections draw near, the state government has rallied members of the organized private sector on the need to support its government in achieving developmental objectives through sustainable investment, even as the state restated commitments to infrastructure development and renewal, as well as a conducive business environment. Well, joining me is no other person. I introduced him earlier. He is the Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning, Lagos State, Mr. Sam Egube. Good afternoon. It's good to have you live in the studio.
Good afternoon, Tolu. It's my pleasure to be here.
Well, a lot of issues on the polity, really, my first discussion. So, but let's move to something else. And, first, Monday's meeting, that economic, the meeting with the private sector was really, really, to me, top-notch. Looking at the quality of guests I saw there and the, quality of also state government and officials that were there to discuss. But this brings to me that I see that the four people on the panel at one time or the other worked with Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So what really is the message at that event?
I think the message is that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is indeed a leader. He's someone that works a lot with partnerships. And all of that are important to taking the nation from where it is. And he's someone that you can see over his supervision, either directly, indirectly, or through his prodigies, right, has been consistent growth and consistent improvement. So what we read on Monday was a few of the best and brightness coming out of what we call the house of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, right? And you could see that they are at various places, right? People say that children are like sharp arrows in the hands of a hunter. So you see them in various strategic places in the economy. And we're telling the private sector that, you see, what you enjoy in Lagos, we can enjoy nationally. We can plan long-sighted, with a lot of long-sightedness. When you talk about the free trade zone, you talk about the transport master plan, you talk about the rails, you talk about technology infrastructure. He was the one that started Lagos State, the first government in sub-Saharan Africa to use Oracle enterprise software. So he's quite forward-looking. The other thing is that he has commitment to a cause, right? He's not the one when he's challenged in one party, he moves to another party, he's challenged, he moves to another party. He stayed to build and to develop the party from the beginning. So you didn't see him move here and there. That is real dedication. But not only him, he's able to bring his sons with him, right? So you see them in various strata of the economy, building that understanding of how this nation works, right? And therefore are in a great position to make the difference when the time comes. That's what you saw on Monday, and we're pretty proud of what him and all of those with him have achieved. You also see something very interesting in his leadership style. You see the inclusion.
Yes.
You see a lot of young people in cabinet. You see a lot of experienced people. You see a lot of women. You see a lot of people from other states and from other tribes. I mean, I'm from Delta originally.
I wanted to say that.
Yeah,
there's
Kabweze, there's Kabiru from Katsina, there is Joy Bokwe from Anambra. The idea is that talent pool must come from everywhere, right, to deliver the great outcomes which we see. And it is that talent, right, and the fact that Asiwaju is not afraid to attract talent and to retain them. Some of these other politicians have been in sports, but you can't see the talent that they have pulled and that they do retain. They quarrel with them all the time and they part ways. But Asiwaju's men has largely remained. And he has also developed a history and a tradition of active debate in the cabinet of Lagos. So in Lagos, there's a lot of very fruitful debate. It's not when the governor speaks, everybody aligns immediately. No, even the governors who trained under him are also open to you can't pull talents together and not be acquainted and familiar with winning and losing debates. A lot of people have not built that way. That's why you see some of the politicians, they are lone rangers. It's either them or nothing else. Now, that is the style and culture which Asiwaju has betrothed to us, which we have inherited, and which we'll pass on to the younger generation. Just recently, a few days ago, Mr. Governor launched what is called the Lateef Jakonde Academy, Leadership Academy, where we are growing a generation of extremely young people who will be shadowing commissioners, cabinet members, and permanent secretaries, because we must prepare for the next level of leadership. That is how Lagos is built. I must give credit to Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and everybody that has come after him has held faith because they were part of it at those stages. So, and because of the openness of his mind, you really know what he's thinking. And so you are able to imbibe it, you are cultured to it, and then you can implement it when the time comes. So for Lagos, you then see the growth happen layer upon layer. Every new government is adding something in line with the development agenda. Even the House of Assembly, when you go to defend your budget, they ask you about its alignment with the development agenda. So continuity, consistency, courage, commitment are all the things we really see in his leadership style, which we see in Lagos, which we were showcasing. And the last thing is partnerships. Forever Lagos partners with the private sector. Lagos partners with the federal government. Lagos partners with other state governments. You understand? And that is what makes Lagos really thick. Without the partnership with the federal government, we will not talk about the red line. It will be difficult. It was the lack of possibility for that partnership because a different party was at the center that the red line was delayed. Once that partnership worked, that red line, we're dealing at 380 billion cheaper than we would have done because we're sharing infrastructure with the federal government. You know? Now, so that is the spirit of Lagos, and that is the spirit which I think is now become our tradition.
Interestingly, I see that knowledge of economic issues in Asiwaju Tinubu. I attended the National Economic Summit group's meeting where he was interviewed, and also at the meeting with the business community, the first one I held at a co-hotel. And one thing that many people talk about is the increase in IGR. That's what everybody talks about. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, the truth is that intelligence does not come by accident. This man worked with Deloitte. This man was the treasurer at ExxonMobil, right? He was a senator. He was 2-time serving governor. You don't pick those kind of knowledge that comes with a lot of experience on the street. And he has some of the best minds around him. I mean, he's economic planning commissioner. He's currently the chairman of Citibank. I mean, it's just a beauty to behold when you see his array of men that are available and that believe in his ideals and that believe in Nigeria, right? These are people who have the scars of war, trying to protect our democracy, trying to ensure that there is growth, trying to ensure also that Lagos presents as a national asset. So when we do things in Lagos, we don't do things only for the benefit of Lagos, but everything we do has national positive implications. When you come out from the international airport and you come into a 10-lane highway, that's Lagos, but that's also Nigeria. When you see the deep sea port, right, and the investment Lagos has in it, that is Lagos, but that is also Nigeria, right? In partnership, that deep sea port on completion will create so much capacity, right, that will cause Lagos to be that hub taking Nigeria into the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. So those are the things you begin to see about that. When they say in the federal government that our major challenge is not the debt position, but the revenue position, because we score outright on every other debt sustainability parameter, apart from revenue, is the same thing we did in Lagos. When Asiwaju moved the needle materially, right, from 600 million, right, now we are at 50 billion, and we know that 50 billion is not enough to sustain the kind of capacity that Lagos requires. We need something in the neighborhood of 14%, 12% of our GDP. Currently, we're at 3%. So you can see there's a lot of capacity that we still need to build through active asset management, through expanding the collection base, through using technology. You can also see that insight is flowing into the federal position. As you see the Ministry of Finance Limited begin to assign its national assets for active management. So the foundation for national growth has been put. Lagos is leading the charge as an example and a pathfinder for other states to participate in that body of knowledge. Why we say Lagos is a national asset is, look, you have the highest concentration of cerebral minds here in Lagos. The biggest corporates are here, right? And therefore, we harness, right, all the time, right, the minds of the people of Lagos and the people making the economy of Nigeria thick in the leadership of Lagos. You saw it during COVID. It was Lagos state government partnering with the private sector, NGOs everywhere coming together and engaging. It is the spirit of Ajimoshe, as we always cry out, that we can work together. And we need Nigeria to work. The way Nigeria will work is that same spirit. Putting our hands together across tribes, across languages, across religion, bringing the talents from wherever they are to come to bear on national development, and then you see the spark happen.
Many would ask and say, Nigeria is a different ball game. It's not like just a Lagos state. That is a difference. What sort of move, or what do you think are these quick wins for the likes of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because of the kind of person that he is? Openness, yes, we've talked about that.
We've talked about openness. We've talked about talent hunt. We've talked about his ability to retain talent. Yeah. Look, many times when we talk about Nigeria, we speak about Nigeria, about the resource that Nigeria has, right? I wrote an article once when they were talking about selling some of our assets, our crude assets, and they say, you want to sell? I said, what national assets are these corner shops, right? Those things are not what counts the most. It's the asset within our brains, within our ears. It's more powerful than the assets under the ground. No matter how much resources you have, if you do not have your brains well screwed up, you will have international parties drive your economy. You will have them own and control the assets, right? And one thing Asiwaju has done extremely well is doing that, developing people, developing leaders, investing significantly in education. I mean, in this our government, for example, I mean, when we came in, because of the turbulence that COVID brought, our pass rate was about 39%. But because of the action of Mr. Governor, led by an astute cabinet, specifically the Commissioner for Education, we've moved it to 80% consecutively, leveraging technology, proliferating good teaching, recruiting additional teachers, creating an ambience and an environment in our schools, right, that the children can learn from. So we've done over 1,500 school projects. We've equipped over 18,000 teachers with technology that ensures that they teach their curricula on a standard basis. We've deployed our best teachers across technology networks to teach majority of our students. And what you see is that outcome. And that is what Nigeria needs. Nigeria needs an education sector that is vibrant. In Lagos, you see that all the state university and tertiary education, they are not going on strike, right? We would like to have that experience nationally. You see that our lawsuit is best in class when it comes to medical services. You see all we've done in the health sector, mother and child hospitals, about 4 of them. We're starting out, we're almost closing out on a general hospital in Ojo. We're doing a psychiatric hospital, 500 bed at Ketu, right? And all of these things are things that the Nigerian state should participate from. We're doing one of the largest children hospitals in Lagos Island, the Mercy Children Hospital. We're starting a film city at Ekpe. We're expanding the infrastructure, both at Badagry and on the Lekki-Ekpe Expressway. That's what Nigeria is. And you will see it also that the stock, for example, of infrastructure, right? Between 2015, it was 20% of GDP. Now on the Federation, it's 35% of GDP. I think we are making a lot of progress. And this progress can only be sustained by the right kind of leadership. And I think Lagos has that answer.
Indeed. There's a roadmap, and that takes me to the themes agenda that you're running at the moment. Can you tell us how implementable, or where are we with regards to the themes agenda?
Okay, so the themes agenda is Mr. Governor's development agenda. But first of all, talking about continuity, the team's agenda is not coming from the air.
Yeah.
It is situated between a development plan, right? And it is situated coming out from a confirmation from the people of Lagos that those are the things that we do want to see. And every budget that we do must be aligned to the team's agenda, which is aligned to the development plan, right? So when you see us saying that the performance on the budget is 80%, what you are saying is that the team's agenda is progressing at that same rate. So we are making a lot of progress in terms of execution of the team's agenda. And you will see it in transport. You see the 2 rails coming out. In healthcare, I talked about 4 mother and child health. I talked about several health infrastructure. On the technology space, we are doing 3,000 kilometers of broadband fiber optics that will ensure distribution to towers and to homes. And the international community is watching. I remember we were in New York with Mr. Governor, and they came saying, look, they are investing. So it has attracted over $1 billion in investments in data centers, in hyperscale data centers in Lagos, right? We are seeing it in Agric. We just commissioned the Immortal Rice Mill, right? In its full operational play, it will deliver over 250,000 jobs. The deep sea port will deliver another 170,000 jobs. We are lifting people out. We are also ensuring that we take care of the vulnerable at the same time. So you see all of that running. And in terms of overall management, Lagos has been upgraded to AAA, right? And don't forget that all of these things I'm talking about, teams did not anticipate that COVID-19 will come, right? So COVID-19 has so devastated global economies that people are being downgraded. Countries are being downgraded. But Lagos was upgraded to AAA 2 years running. For our resilience, for our forward look, the fact that we are very forward looking, the fact that we are a resilient city because of the way we are organized. When you look at the credentials of Mr. Governor and Mr. Deputy Governor and the strength of the cabinet, you can then say that that plan will be implemented and is being implemented, because a plan is just as good as those implementing it.
Of course.
And that was what we were parading again on Monday, right? The best minds are here. The best sets of collaboration with the private sector, they are here in Lagos. And therefore, the best outcomes for the nation to look at and follow are coming out of Lagos.
So Lagos State government being in sync with the federal government, you see a lot of positives moving on, talking about governance, talking about economic benefits and all of that, if Lagos is in sync with the federal government.
You see, you need a particular, first of all, Lagos is the economic capital, the business capital, the capital of enterprise for this country. So if it connects and is aligned with the federal government, with the ideas of development, inclusion, right? Putting to work our women, putting to work various tribes with talent, pulling them together, keeping them, and being able to allow them express without beating them down, because you can't cope with the debate that talents bring to the table, right? Makes things work. I believe that a connection, a perfect connection between the federal position and Lagos State and several other cities. Every city does not have to develop, does not have to be invested in at the same time with everything to lift up the nation. There are certain cities that you must disproportionately invest in, and their output would deliver production everywhere. So Mr. Governor just launched, commissioned, flagged off the construction work in the Lagos State Food Security Systems and Logistic Base. It's a big market, food market. When that thing is in operation, it will stimulate production up north, everywhere in the country, because we shall determine the quality of food coming in. We shall create corridors for additional investment in cold storage, in cold logistic assets, right? That will happen. It will make Lagos, again, strengthen the nation's position as we go into the African continent, right? So all of that is important. And we must look at it that, look, it is not politics. That's not how it works. You look at where you have your strategic advantages, which cities will do what for the country, and then you invest disproportionately in those cities. When you hear that Cairo has a lot of rail lines, it's the national government working with that city to make it happen, not like us in Lagos where we are doing it all alone, right? So there is this thing that we believe will light up in Nigeria when we get the right leader in my view, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, right, going into the presidential position and aligning it well with us in Lagos and releasing into the country everything, all the skills that have been developed, and the fact that we can bring into unison our people, our tribes, our languages, our religion, and make it work for national development.
Let's wrap up with your budget. You have a very interesting budget, I must say. And many will say, how implementable, how achievable is this? Some will say it looks like a tall order. It's really big, huge. Tell us about it.
Come on to that. I mean, Lagos, by now, you should know that Lagos is used to big ideas, big things. We have the capacity here in Lagos to think big and to drive it big. I mean, when we said we were going to do the rail, it was impossible. What example do you have? There's no subnational doing this, but we're doing it, right? It's because of the quality of minds that you have here, right? So it is very implementable. We're implementing it. You are seeing it. We're making the announcements. All these things are coming together, right? All the promises that were made are being met, right? And that's what we mean when we talk about strong leadership and when we talk about a strong cabinet and when we talk about an array. And then when we talk about partnership and when we talk about observing the progress that is being made. A lot of people spend time dealing with the challenges. If we dealt with the challenges alone, we will not come out of COVID. Yes. We built bigger and stronger coming out of COVID, right? We had benefits of additional new infrastructure and equipment coming out of COVID, right? The entire agricultural master plan came out of COVID, right? Mr. Governor led from the front as the incident commander. This is the kind of, this is the texture of the leadership which you have in Lagos. So in terms of implementability, yes, we have monitoring teams monitoring every aspect of the budget. Mr. Governor sits on the stakeholder meeting looking at the revenue all the time. Mr. Deputy Governor sits as chair looking at the expenditure side all the time, right? The Ministry of Economic Planning is observing how we are doing on strategy, how we are doing on execution. It's not by luck that Lagos is turning out the way it is. It is the people and the texture of the people, the intelligence, the capacity, and the support we have from the people of Lagos, the business community in Lagos, right, that makes Lagos State come out the way it is coming out.
What will be your message to Lagosians at this time? It's few days to that election.
So the election, the election is a very significant activity that is about to happen on us. And we should not be emotional about it. We are looking for leaders who can raise men and have raised men. We are looking for leaders who can attract talent and are not afraid of talent, who can allow the best minds to express themselves freely in contributing to the development of our country, right? And I believe that that man is Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I believe he has a strong team of governors, right, behind him, which has worked with him over the years. I think he's been patient in building the block, moving from senator to governor to becoming a regional leader, then becoming the national leader. So he's had years behind him, right? Not only him, but also his sons and his daughters have years of experience. When you see him arrayed in a panel, you see men sitting around him able to take on different aspects of our economic development, our social lives, and all that. I think we need to choose right on the day. We cannot be emotional. We should observe stability. A lot of these other people have been moving from one party to another party, from one place, looking for their opportunistic behaviors. Asiwaju has stayed firm, right, in one party, developing it through rain, through thin, losing some ground sometimes, winning those grounds again. That's a real warrior, and we need a warrior with a lot of sense to lead the charge in Nigeria. We also feel that for the continuity we're talking about, we should vote Mr. Governor Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu for Lagos. That's the decision we must take. That's the reasonable thing to do. And I know that the people of Lagos are very reasonable people.
Thank you so much. It's always interesting having you in the studio, Mr. Samuel Gube. We can go on, but really interesting. Is the Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning, Lagos State, there making sense of all of this, the issue of leadership, impact of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu on governance in Lagos State, and what we should expect moving forward. Thank you so much. Do enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much, Tola.